did the design behind the Cnft Awards, but what piqued your interest in the whole crypto world? How did you get into NFTs? Where did you hear about them? Did you know about NFTs before you sort of started working on your project?
So I did. It's something that you hear a lot on the site. I never really focused on that before I learned about the Cnft Awards, because I was more in the physical world, in installation, in print design. And that was actually the first time getting into the NFT world more in detail. And I found it really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard of NFTs, but I never get into it. I heard everybody knows maybe Beeple, that guy. So yeah, for me it was really interesting to have a look right now in the NFT world, and I'm really looking forward to do something with it.
Yeah, that's really exciting. It's a very great space to be in right now, and it's really so many interesting things are happening there. So you did the design behind the Cnft Awards, and I think the design is absolutely amazing. It's so innovative. It's something new, and I've never seen that before. So what's the story behind it?
So the story behind this whole thing is like, I think I got a really interesting view on this whole NFT crypto thing because I was not too deep inside it. So I actually studied this whole thing, saw it from outside, as a person who maybe could be one of the guests, for example. And I had a few ways to concept ideas, and the one which we luckily went with was the one with the chromatin loop. And the idea behind this was, I thought we as a human, we live a period of time on this planet Earth, and we create stuff which actually lives in the digital world, and maybe as well for I would say a certain life. And because we never know in general how long we live, or let me reframe it. It could be an infinite loop, this whole universe, and we only live for a certain time of life. And the idea behind this was, if we take the nucleus, like the NFT or the life, and we put it in an infinity loop, it reminded me to the chromatin loops, and it gives me this feeling of these biological DNA. And that actually where I started to create stuff with the shapes and the colors. And the more I worked with these chromatin loops, the more it looked like planets, for example. Planets in a universe where every planet has its own biotope and has its own life. And all these, in this case, 9 categories, stood for a category for the award. And that was originally the idea behind the shape and the colors and how it actually looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really happy that Jules came along with this idea. For me, I always felt it was like we were some kind of space travelers who getting through space and finding these new creatures or something like that. And I actually did something very similar before, so I was happy that we get together with this project. And for me, the most important thing was to get these loops alive. They should have a feeling of his own entity, and that they're animated things. So the approach to do those loops was, there are many different techniques you can use in modern 3D programs, and I try to cover those techniques. Yes, there. If I come to detail, there is The one way is with working with textures. I put the texture on. The texture is like a driver who drives the morphing, but also the texture is going around those loops. And there are also some different drivers who makes the whole thing moving. And there are other techniques where it's called geometry nodes. This is a new thing in Blender right now, where you put nodes together, and with the nodes you can make very interesting stuff. And this is the second way how I did the loops.
Oh,
I can talk more about it, but
oh, that's pretty interesting, pretty technical. What I wonder is sort of like, what was the work process behind it? So did you start out with a completely different idea, and like how many drafts did it take for you to sort of like get what you have now?
So from a concept view, I think we had 5 different ways how we could show this whole thing. We had the one with the iris, we had the one with layers. I think it took me maybe 2 days for all these concept ideas, and to work in detail with this one idea, it's hard to tell, I think. Because if you're like into this mode, you forget about time, you forget to drink and to eat. It's like this tunnel thing. I think I worked in total or in general with this idea around 3 days, 2 days, 3. And yeah, the more I worked with it, the more clearer came the idea of like how this whole thing could look like. Because it started with these 2 worlds, the digital world and the real world. And then how we could merge these 2 things. And in my head, there was always like, how can we show this fingerprint and the individuals who are creating stuff, and how can we make this award look like nothing else? So something really individual and something organic, and yeah, something that loops all the time. And yeah, so I would say in general, around 2-3 days for the idea.
That's crazy. That's so fast.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, for me it took a little bit longer, I think. I'm not sure, but the idea was changing in a way. The texture was evolving. I tried about maybe 20 different things, and at the beginning we had a kindly different idea, and it evolves around the time. And yeah, we sorted things out, and so we decided to get along with the things you see right now.
Yeah, what was so beautiful in this project is like creative artists most of the time, or mostly, work for themselves in their little nook. And I really liked the co-working view, because it was a really interactive communication between Fabian and me. And I think, especially if you work together with creatives, things get bigger and greater than if you do it by yourself. So I would say we influenced ourselves to get there where we are at the moment. So if I say the idea and the concept took maybe around 2-3 days, it doesn't mean that it stopped there. So it was like, how can we make stuff better? How can we work around problems? How can we fix stuff? Especially for the physical award at the moment, there's a third person who's building all that stuff. So that's a side effect on this whole thing, which makes it really interesting. Yeah.
So just a question, did you know each other before you started working on this project?
Yeah, we know each other one project before we worked in one project.
Okay.
So we get to know each other, but we didn't work so close together.
Okay.
And for me, it was really, really helpful to work with Jules, because he's way more optimistic guy than me. I'm more doubtful and critical, and he's always like, no, this is good. just do it. And
Just
I
a
really need something
perfectionist.
like that. What do you mean?
So what I,
Just a perfectionist.
Yeah, if you work if you work at something, you are always critical and you think, wow, that's not good enough. Or here, maybe you can do this, and you're never satisfied. And it's very good if you have somebody else who just gives you the feeling that, yeah, you can do that. It's good. Just go along with that. And we changed a lot, and it was always very helpful with Jules.
what I
That's
really liked is like projects like that. If you have a little bit of guidance, like you know where you actually like a little bit of a path where you know where you have to walk, and it's very important, especially for artists, and in this case for Fabian, to have the freedom to express himself as well. So I think the mix between a little bit of guidance and to know, especially because of the structure, what to do in the combination of free working on it with own impressions, I think made that award how it looked like now.
She's got another question, which would be really interesting regarding the textures. Do they have a certain like backstory as well, or was it just something that kind of like looked good and just worked with the different categories?
They don't have a special background from uh, it was more like to have to try different techniques, because if you're doing art, you always have the material, the media you're working with. And for me, it was very important to use this different techniques which are available right now. And so it was more like you can do this like this way and this way and this way, and it was more to try different things. And yeah, so it was more to emphasize the idea of the technique itself. Like, if you know, the it's like form follows function a little bit in this way, if you think about it. So there are these techniques, they allow certain things of design, and yeah. So for me, it was more to give a feeling for the technique. It's what it was used for.
And I'm pretty sure that especially in the artist thinking, you had a feeling. Like sometimes it's hard to tell what you thought about it, but I'm pretty sure there was a feeling which award
Yeah,
got which texture, and it has like something to do with the shape, the idea behind it, and
yeah,
I think sometimes it's hard to tell in detail what you were thinking about. But I'm pretty sure it's
yeah,
like a
but
feeling. Yeah.
yeah, but for me, that is not that important, because every form has an expression for itself naturally. So it's not that important what I think, because I'm doing the things and they are speaking. So, if I use this format and I'm just listening to what I'm doing in a way, to just, what does the form say? And if I'm interested in it, because I see it looks like something that has a story behind it, that has a living, then I'm interested in. But it's not that I have the idea before. I'm doing something, it is restricted from its technique, and then you just looking at it, and um, you're searching for stories that are behind that. And if you have the feeling that this form has a living, has some backstory for itself, because if you look at them, I think there are evolving ideas what this form could be, or is it more powerful, or is it more shy, or is it more mean? I don't know. There are many different associations you can have, and that's what I'm really like about it.